Welcome everyone to Public Services. Just a reminder that this meeting is recorded and it is uploaded to the YouTube channel in a couple of days. I'd like to re-welcome Jill again. Thank you for joining us. We shall crack on with the agenda. Apologies for this evening. We've received apologies from Councillor Gibson. Lovely. What was that, everybody? Yeah. In which case I propose that we accept the apologies.
Agreed.
Agreed, thank you. Item 2 then, to receive the minutes of the meetings held on the 5th of December and the 9th of January. Please accept by vote. I propose that we accept the minutes for the meeting of the 5th of December and the 9th of January.
Second that, Chairman.
Agreed. Lovely. Do I just need to put my initials in there?
Initials on all pages and sign the final page. Of each set of minutes.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah. Lovely. Chairman's update. A relatively light one today. A reminder that all our future meetings are going to be taking place on a Tuesday evening. Clear the diaries. So that's an easy one. And thank you to Councillor Whitaker. There were a couple of additions that we put on this evening. An update on the Victoria Hospital. James Lowell, who's come and given evidence and discussed with us on many occasions at Public Services, has been seconded from the hospital, and in the meantime Abigail Jago is acting CEO, so we are going to work with her to understand the due process and obviously to find out who will be the replacement in due course. We obviously wish James every success. We're sad to see him go, and in keeping with that, a further update. The last time that James was here, I think he presented the proposals for the Community Diagnostic Centre, which the committee were very excited about. The process for public participation and consultation is now live. I think that closes on the 26th of March, if I'm not wrong. So do have a look at that. It's a very exciting, huge opportunity for the town. And we're going to have a little update on the Inverhorn Lane development.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Technically, it's a planning matter. To the Inverhorn Lane large scheme, housing scheme, was approved at Mid-Sussex District Council about 3 weeks ago, and part of that scheme is for a community building, sort of slightly mixed use, but part of it, that use, hopefully, is for health and/or NHS use. So I have been made aware since that consent that discussions are underway between the developer and Sussex Integrated Care Board and other NHS stakeholders in the town to potentially progress, hopefully, an end user health-wise for that facility. So I'm sort of on the outside of that, but as soon as I get any more, I will update you and the committee chair on that. But hopefully that's some more potential good news.
In which case, that's my updates for this evening. So we move to item 4, which is to receive members' declarations of interest. Anything new to update? Lovely. In which case, the meat of today's agenda, police matters. Inspector Derrick is not unfortunately able to join us this evening, but he has provided a report, which hopefully you've all had a little chance to digest. Just to pull out a couple of key points. Inspector Derrick draws our attention to, or rather doesn't draw our attention to, the plainclothed officers that are operating in the town. Officers in covert capacity are operating in the town, targeting people of interest. He notes a couple of incidents, which I'm sure we're all aware of. There was a robbery which was committed in the town centre. A drug deal gone wrong. Police are actively investigating that. The neighbourhood teams are in the town daily responding to antisocial behaviour and other low-level activities. I'm sure people are aware of the domestic murder that was committed in the town. That is continuing to be investigated. It was inside a private residence. We're not aware that anyone else was involved. And I think the one that is perhaps an ongoing issue that we monitor is the area around the cinema. We often get an update from Inspector Derek. He suggests that they've been frequent, if a little bit less frequent in the colder months. So we're keeping an eye on that as we approach spring. I think an action that this committee would like to take away is there was an incident in town on Saturday night that we've been made aware of, and I don't think we've yet had an update from Inspector Derek, so we would like to raise that with him. I don't know if anyone has any questions or comments on Inspector Derek's report. Thank you.
It's not specifically on the report, it's probably what is not in the report. I understood that the police were investigating High Street premises for their police station. Have we got any update on that?
I'm not aware that we do. Town Clerk, have you heard anything?
No, but Katie Bourne is trying to arrange a meeting here with members of the council. It could be.
Yes, sir. She was
That's-
up.
Yeah.
I just wondered if there's any update in the report, because that was 2 or 3, 4 weeks ago or something.
Yeah, a meeting had been arranged, which was during February half term. I think I'm not really.
There are a few
aware.
empty shops and things. So
Yeah, she hasn't really shared any
No.
real details with
Okay.
me, but a meeting, trying to
I
arrange a
didn't know
meeting
if there was
date.
any further update.
No,
but no.
just trying to arrange a date for before the end of March is what
Okay.
she's targeting.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, just to come on that, thank you, Town Clerk. Yeah, just to confirm, because I'm part of the circulation list, I know I was contacted in the last few days. There will be a meeting with Katie Bourne. It will be up here. It will be to discuss Chequermead front desk and or other police arrangements in the town. And whilst she is here, we will take the opportunity, if we can, to discuss other police matters that have been raised through, essentially through this committee and other town stakeholders, not least these gentlemen here. So it's a great opportunity. But her PA executive officer was very insistent that she wanted to come up here.
Yeah.
So that's good,
Yeah.
because we haven't seen her for a bit. And so, yeah, that will be hopefully by the end of March, so in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just wanted to, I guess, applaud Detective Derek and the team for the work they're doing with Copper with the Copper. So it's great that they are trying to get more visibility in the town. I think I'd probably encourage, as per public, more notice, more dates, and then potentially looking at how they can really increase the visibility, whether it's, with councillors as part of the monthly gazebo, whether it's actually presence at Eastport Live, where there are large sways, not just a few people that can make an hour during a day. So I think it's a really great starting point. But I think if we can encourage them to look at doing more, I think that will appease a lot of the residents.
I think that's quite right. I think it is noted in the report that there's a lot of emphasis on the sort of under the plainclothes officers, and clearly a higher presence, making it more easy for residents and councillors to get in. Is a very good shout. So I very much support that. Thank you, Councillor. Any further comments?
Thank you, Chair. Just one other point. Yeah, I've been contacted by County Councillor DeBell, John DeBell, about he was contacted by a resident about motorbikes driving, racing through footpaths around the back of Ashflats Wood, sort of here between Overton Shore and Aldersview Drive. I'm not personally aware, he said there are photographs attached which have gone to the town clerk. So it's just inquiring about additional signage, maybe more bollards, that sort of thing. Obviously we've had that in the past there. It's a very big, large area with multiple access egress points, so it's pretty difficult. But if we could just minute that, please, town clerk, just to follow up. I have made Councillor DeBell aware that we're raising it tonight, and then hopefully then he can go back to the resident. So just a note.
Yes, I would just reiterate that's been ongoing. This is in my ward for many years. And there's another hotspot down Dunnings round the back there. So there's, you can actually pinpoint these areas, and then it seems to go off, generations probably move on, and then the next
The next
generation
bit.
come and it rears its head again. So it's just something we need to watch and monitor. Thank you.
Thank you for the update. In which case, if there aren't any further questions, I would like to open Jill to do some comments. I was invited to join the AGM last year, when it was the first time I came across Talking News, and I thought it was a wonderful organisation filled with so many brilliant volunteers doing such wonderful work. So please do tell us all about what you do and how we can.
Well, I haven't been part of it for very long. I retired about 18 months ago, was looking for things to do, as you do. And this was one of the things that I sort of got involved in by another friend. So what I thought to do is just tell you a little bit about the background of the charity and a little bit about what people in the charity do, because it is a very small charity. It was founded in 1978, so it's almost 50 years ago. And the purpose of it is they produce a monthly reading of local news and events, and it's free of charge for the visually impaired community in East Grinstead and the surrounding areas. So we're going about 10 miles out in the directions. But if somebody's been part of that community and they move away and have to got friends and things, we do still deliver to them as well. I mean, that's happened very often. Our listeners are blind or partially sighted, or they might just find it difficult to read, either on a temporary or a permanent basis. And at the moment, we've got about 33 listeners. So it's not an enormous number of people. And I would say that they are generally of an older generation, probably people that don't have the same sort of access to computers in the way that people do nowadays. So I think I suspect it's probably something that in the next few years or 10, 15 years is going to fade. That's a personal opinion, just because of the nature of our present listeners. And so what they get at the moment is a CD, or we're just updating. For some of them, it's a memory stick, which is even better, but most of them have a CD. So it's run by a very small committee, and we meet 4 times a year, either via Zoom, and that sort of came about because of COVID, and they started doing it by Zoom and then decided to carry on. And then once a year, as you said, we meet for our AGM at Eastbrook. And also on the committee, we've got a representative, which is Catherine Peacock, and we also have 2 of our listeners that join us on the Zoom meetings as well. We pay a nominal fee for use of the studio plus Eastbrook. We don't have any regular income. We're basically funded by grants and donations. We just received a generous donation from Waitrose for £600, which make a big difference to us. Well, we're fortunate to have a lot of volunteers who help us out. And that means that nobody in the volunteers has to do too many things, right? So they're probably only involved 3 or 4 times a year. So how it starts is that each month there's a cycle. Okay, and the first thing that happens is that we have an editor. So that's there's about 4 editors. So they might produce 3 newspapers during the year. So they get together local information, news, events, things that are going on. Obviously, we've got to have things that don't date, because by the time they've written it and it then gets sent along to be read, there's probably 4 weeks. So they have to choose their news carefully, and a lot of that comes from the internet, things like that. Because of course there aren't local newspapers, which is where this sort of news would have come before. So the editor puts together a script, about 6,000 words, and then that's sent to a member of the committee who just checks it through and makes sure it's the right sort of style. And then on the 3rd Thursday of every month, the script is read at a recording meeting. And from in the winter, early spring, it's done by Zoom meeting. And then for the other sort of 6 months a year, again, they have a meeting across the Eastport. And at that meeting, there are 3 readers. And so basically they decide who's going to read which bits of the newspaper, so you get different voices and things like that reading it out. And then, as I said, each of them will probably do 3 or 4 newspapers during the year. And there's a recording engineer, so we've got 2 or 3 people who know how to do all the tech stuff. And they're there basically, so if they're reading, the tech chap is recording everything, it isn't males that do the recording, so. And then at the end of the meeting, you've got a master copy, the CD. Okay, so that's also done, and they also do the medley sticks after the meeting. Then that happens on, as I said, on the 3rd Thursday of each month. And then the following Saturday, another little group of volunteers, a different group of volunteers, meet with a copy engineer this time. And we've got a machine over there where you put the CD in, and then you can make 10 copies, and you can put 10 copies in, make another 10 copies. Our copy engineer makes all of those. And then you've got some other volunteers who are, again, I think it's normally a couple of them. And again, it works on, I don't know how many times a year, but they probably do 2 or 3 times during the year. They basically then get they've received all the envelopes back, posted out very special envelopes. They don't, we don't have to pay postage on this. It's free for the post office. So we get the envelopes back in, the old CDs back in, and they're all taken out. Basically, they're not, we can't use them again. So they're all taken out. Then they put the new CDs in, and put the new make sure that the labels in, the correct labels in there. They do 2 things on. Probably needing a bit of updating, but they're all very happy with what they're doing. So I went to see them actually do this, and I did think you could do it a different way, but I just kept quiet. They all knew what they were doing, and that was fine. So that all goes in, and then you've got somebody there who then takes all the envelopes off, goes to the post office, posts them, and that's the completed cycle. And so that's how we work. Yeah, that's really it. So it's very low community. What do we need finances for? Well, obviously for renting the studio, replacing the equipment as you need it, and the CDs are the main bit. So we're always looking for small grants and donations that actually help us keep it running.
Thank you so much. It's so fascinating. And volunteers are such a vibrant, exciting, brilliant group of people. And it's obviously a huge team effort with an enormous amount of tech and kind of editorial journalism and all sorts of things. And so I'm very, very impressed. I don't know if there are any questions.
Yes, it was when I first became a councillor many years ago. It was my charity, that first introduction, and I was really fascinated. I went to meet them a few times, and I remember the ladies, and I said, "What do you get out of it?" And they were saying that they get special menus and cookery ideas for them as blind people, that they could actually do suggestions. They found that really interesting. And I said to the gentleman, "What about you?" And without a doubt, it was rugby results from the local teams and the top results from East Grinstead. And they found that really fascinating. And I remember one of the gentlemen who previously in his younger days had played, and he said, "I sort of lived for the results." And it was just lovely to see how much they were gaining from it. And that was a long time ago, but I'm sure it's carried on the enjoyment. And I just think it's a brilliant charity. And I've spoken to Adam about it and how much he enjoys it too. It's something you know it's giving a lot of people, those people, a lot of help and enjoyment, and they're meeting one another. It's a really excellent charity. And although it's small, it fulfills a really good place.
They can't actually pick up, they can't just look at the internet easily. And just pick up the local news, go on to Facebook and things like that. So, yeah.
Great.
No, absolutely echo that. The enormous service you do and the people whose lives you improve. I think we're all grateful to that. And as I said in the AGM, I had no idea. It might be a tiny charity, but honestly, the people involved in the enthusiasm were absolutely awe-inspiring. So we're very grateful. Thank you for coming along and seeing it. That's finished.
Yeah, thank you, Jill. I, about 5 or 6 years ago, attended your AGM in a similar capacity to Councillor Belsing. Just to find out about, what you do, a great team and, just a wonderful service and that feedback that I reckon. Obviously, we must be waiting to, for each delivery, whatever time it is, but per month, and, with bated breath. Also, huge shout out to Waitrose as well, because they are so
Yeah.
philanthropic with lots of charities and support. They never say no, with all sorts of charities, different sizes. So it's fantastic. I think it's Lisa there, the manager, that, she's excellent. So great shout out to them. So thank you very much. Please send our thanks and best wishes to the whole of your team for the work you do. And we'll
Thank you.
hopefully, and when we come to future grant considerations, we'll remember that you came here tonight to tell us all about it. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You're obviously welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but do feel free to scamper away. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Lovely. In which case, item agenda number 7, our community team report. Alice, over to you.
Chair. So the first point on my report is about the youth club, so I just wanted to update everyone on how well it's going at Sunnyside. Too well, in fact, they're so full. So they've moved, as I think I said before, they've moved the group, so it's every other week now. So we've got 26 young people coming. We've got the group A and group B. We've had some really good feedback from parents about how well everyone's getting on there and how much they're enjoying it and looking forward to it, and they're making new friends in different year groups as well, which is really good, as a lot of them will be transitioning this September. We've got lots of support from local parents as well, with volunteering and coming to support weekly, which is fantastic. Dunnings Mill have been helping with the tuck shop. So we have had quite a few inquiries about whether this can happen weekly for everyone that's attending, so they don't have to wait fortnightly. We've also had queries from people with older siblings who are wondering if there's anything that can happen in town for the 30th. My kind of little notes here in the report are just to try and gauge the interest of what support we've got from the committee on what kind of direction you want to take the youth provision. Is it something that we can do? Can we start up a new club in the King's Centre? I did send around very late some finances, just very rough finances on the youth club. Sorry, I'm going to come. Just to try and just so you've got an idea of roughly how much it would potentially cost to have the King's Centre with the older students. We would definitely get some funding from other sources from this, particularly from ASB pots. There was some ASB in town between McDonald's and Kingsfield, not this Saturday, the Saturday before, with some young people. And, there is on and off issues at the atrium as well, which is why when Sussex Clubs for Young People was set up, the King's Centre is such a perfect location for the older group as well. I've been speaking with Worth Council. They are interested in sharing a youth worker, because initially that was one of the barriers, is trying to find someone to do part-time work and trying to find qualified or experienced youth workers as well. They are actually interviewing next week. They've got some people interested in filling their roles, and they're going to be asking those people, would they be interested in taking on some extra hours if we did move forward? So there's possibility there. That was always a barrier, finding the right people to run it, and obviously the venues as well. So I've got a meeting with King's Centre to talk about that. Previously they've given us a discount, so I hope that would be the case moving forward as well. That was.
Thank you.
Anyone wants to comment on that now, or carry on with the report?
I think possibly it's a sensible moment to open the floor for some questions. Conscious that we've only really received these, so there might be some room
Absolutely,
for
I just
pondering.
wanted to gauge a rough kind of sense of what you're interested in.
I'm very grateful for the update on Worth Council, because I'm conscious that we had discussed the youth worker at the last meeting, so obviously good progress there. I mean, in theory, Chess Prerogative, I think this sounds like a brilliant idea. There's obviously appetite
Yeah.
for it. I'd be keen to find a way to make it happen. As I say, I haven't had a chance to sort of digest this in fullness, but I don't know if there's any councillors who'd like to add any overarching thoughts at this stage. That's all.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, thank you, Alice. Yeah, fantastic. You know, as I say, it's a people business, and you know, we are. If we can expand the youth, I'm 100% supportive. The obvious question is, you know, to the town clerk about the budgeting situation, which we've just finalised our budget for the next year, but we know it's a large budget, and there are lots of different allocations. It's early in the well, we haven't started this budget. We're just about to go into it, but you know, in any budget there is scope for review. I would suggest that we start a discussion with the leader of the town council, Councillor Farron, about you know, potential funding for this extra funding. You know, obviously because it's extra money. Thank you for the costings. I think they look modest costings to me. I was expecting a bit more. So I know you keep things tight, but right. And I would be 100% supportive if we can find the money either in whole or in part, because you know, it's a great initiative, and you know, we should support you 100% of the time.
Thank you, Councillor.
Yeah.
That's about.
Yes, I mean, I certainly support doing things to advance youth facilities around town. It's how we tackle and attempt to fund it is going to be a challenge at the moment, especially as the budget has been set for next year. We'll have to see with that, I suppose. Base here with two options as well, so two different year group issues. Obviously, the Sunnyside one is effectively the group of kids that we've already got.
Yeah.
Effectively making it full time weekly for them. So in that case, we know that the children are there and everything else is in place. The older ones, what sort of age group are we? How many years we're talking about?
13 plus.
In general, 13 plus.
Yeah, when the Sussex Club for Young People was there, we were hoping to kind of get the 15, 16-year-olds, but it was actually the 13-year-olds that were attending, and I think that there's actually that age group that's hanging around. So that would definitely be the target, and that is what is currently missing in town at the moment. Although, in my opinion, it would be lovely to expand Sunnyside. I think we've got a reasonable offering there now, and I think it would be beneficial to look at another group.
Yeah.
Would that be your recommendation to us? We could only pick one.
That's
It's
my
budget,
personal
isn't it?
opinion.
Yeah, you'd
Yeah, I think that's what is missing in town, yeah.
Yeah, so Alice, I think again, it's amazing job, you know, really early doors in terms of setting it up, and it's great that we've got demand outstripping supply. I think I would absolutely be supportive of us continuing to use Sunnyside rather than it standing empty. I know we've got lots of gaps in the programme, so yeah, for us to utilise, so I'd be really, really supportive of that.
The only evenings we've actually got free, those are Friday, Saturday and Sunday. But that could work really well.
Yeah. And I think with the older children, again, they're crying out something to occupy them and get them off the street and stop causing mayhem. So there's a need there. I think it would be really interesting to understand more broadly, though, what provisions some of the schools, the secondary schools, have in place in the evenings. So if we were going to do something, actually, it fitted into a nice gap that existed, because I know that the schools are dialing up evening activities, after school extended hours. So, you know, if there's a gap right in the middle of the week, that feels like a sweet spot. but, you know, understanding what is already there. So if we are going to invest.
Yeah, that's a good point, thanks.
Some of a market assessment of what provision is out there and where do we go. Thank you, I think that's a great recommendation.
Okay, thank you. So I'll take actions for myself then to look at that with both schools and see what other gaps there are that we should fill. Continue to speak to King Centre about possibilities of letting us have the centre and discounts. Speak to Helen about budgets and start looking at what possible pots of funding there are.
I mean,
And then-
in our budget, we must have a provision for youth in all those boxes. I just can't,
We do for the
Locate.
current Sunnyside
yeah,
club,
yeah.
but
But there
moving
are
forward,
other,
I'm not sure.
I'm sure there's another provision somewhere tucked away. Maybe we'll have a chat about it, investigation.
We'll certainly have a look and see what we
Have a
can.
chat with Mr. Chambers.
Absolutely. Can I just ask, what age is the existing youth club up to?
10 to 13.
10 to 13, so it would dovetail really nicely
Yeah.
in, wouldn't it?
Yeah, actually. Or depending, I mean, that group could potentially grow and stay there, and then a younger group come in and have a different group. Because I think it is two very different offerings about what you can have at King Centre, and you've got the access to the field. It's more central. It's getting the kids that are hanging around in that area, whereas Sunnyside is more of a local smaller group.
Might it be worth for wholesomeness of a review when we do this, is to identify the kind of audience, the differences in the audiences in the venues, if you sort of mean. So, why are we proposing the older group at the King Centre itself? Moving the second group in, just for clarity of thinking. Okay. In which case, do you want to carry on? Yes, thank you.
So can I just clarify then, the preference so would be to, based on funding availability, to prioritise the older youth club.
I think that is the recommendation here, and I'm very happy to support that. I mean, on a personal level, I'd like to try and find a way to do both, but I recognise I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But that would be my preference, one step at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right, next bit is the SIDS. So we've had two speed indicator devices up on Holteye Road, not Holteye Avenue, which I've written on here, sorry, and on Dunnings Road for the last 3 months. They have just been moved this week. One is now on Linfield Road and one is on Essex Drive, and they'll be there for the next 3 months. And then they'll be moving on to Woodbury Avenue and Herringhay Drive. I do have some data if anyone's interested. Again, sorry if it wasn't out sooner. I couldn't get the data off the actual SID. Standing there for half an hour next to my place with my laptop was not been very successful. But I have got some data, and I do need to do a little bit more work on this. But I'll just briefly highlight a few points, and then next time I think more of a thorough data analysis with the help of Leo and Frank hopefully will be done. So on Dunnings Road, the total vehicle numbers are incredibly high, especially compared to when the city was on Dunnings Road in 2022. And I'm feeling that with the location of the current SID, which is just up from Paddock Gardens, between Paddock Gardens and Hurst Farm Road, when people are coming down the hill, slowing down and turning right into Hurst Farm Road is actually catching them at the top, that point there. So they're not actually coming down Dunnings Road. So I think that skewed my data slightly. So I need to look into that a little bit more as to why the figures are so high. But I've checked with Elan City and they said the figures are correct. The speeding is about 11% of vehicles. So we kind of seem to have a pattern between 6% and 11% of cars going over 30 miles an hour at all of our different SIDs. And that's what I want to try and get all of the data all together and look at that as a broader option with Speedwatch and what other areas are finding, because that might be low, that might be high, I don't actually know, but that's what we've got at the moment. So I do need to do some more work on that. It's just difficult getting the data, so I need to learn how to use the system a bit better. Holtide Road, the vehicle numbers are a bit lower than expected actually for such a main road. But it's the first time we've had the SID there, so next time it goes back round, we can get the data and compare it. Again, the speeding is around 6%, which is kind of what we expect from previous data. So yeah, there will be more data next time, and hopefully we can spread this. Once we're confident in the stats, we can spread this further as well, and see if there's any other traffic measures that can happen from this, because I think that's the whole point of having this here, is to see what it's telling us and then what else can we put in place to support issues.
Thank you again. I think it's a brilliant, like, fascinating insights. Very useful. Thank you for standing with your laptop on the side of the road.
Luckily, it wasn't as cold as it is today.
No. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts or comments on.
I just had one question to
Yeah.
really understand. So 3 months, is that,
That is the
recommended-
maximum required, and the maximum amount of time that West Sussex Highway will allow us to have that.
but it's not the recommended amount of time to get a
Recommended by
decent.
who, there's been various different people. People say 3 months is too long because people get signed.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they don't notice it, so it depends whose recommendation we're following, really. I think 3 months is a good amount of time to get some solid data. And yeah.
Yeah, I had
Yeah, I
no
mean, we
idea.
could-
I knew it was the longest amount of time. I
Yeah.
didn't know if there was
Yeah.
a
We've
recommendation.
got the 6 socket hole locations now and the 2 SIDs, so once we've done a full rotation of them all, we can look at the data and then maybe say, actually, 3 months is too long.
You got it first.
Yeah.
What's the whole rotation then between those 6?
So we've got 2 speed indicator devices and 6 socket hole locations. So the 2 move round between the 6 locations.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, thank you, Alice, for the report. Thank you for all the stats, which I went through earlier on. I love the pie charts because that's very graphic, which is great. I also want to thank you and also the Speedwatch team, who always support this committee and this town council, and the close collaborative work that you
Yeah,
do.
absolutely. Yeah.
The expertise and enthusiasm of these guys
Agreed.
is always unbounded. And I know that that you have close contact with Sussex Police, on numbers and data. So thank you very much for the work you do.
Thank you. I just wanted to note, Pubwatch, we had a meeting this morning, and we had the manager from the Crawley and Gatwick Business Watch, who runs their Pubwatch and their Shopwatch. So it's very interesting to see how they do things over there, and just learning what other Pubwatches and Shopwatches are doing, and the fact that they work together so closely, because there's some of the same people popping up on both of those watches. We've got all of our people that are on East Grinstead Pubwatch ban on disc. So the licensee holders can see who's on the band and all the different venues, which is good. And yeah, I think.
Well done. Yeah, very good.
It's coming along. Sunnyside Barn, just to instance.
Sorry, just come back on that. Yeah, I watched great, fantastic, because a few years ago it sort of quietened down, I know, and I know it's again about people and the person that sort of coordinates it. But we mentioned earlier on about the meeting with Katie Bourne.
Yeah.
I'm sure she will be asking how is this going, the usage of,
Yeah.
because obviously we rolled it out a couple of years ago to essentially to the shops,
Yeah.
and I know it's not really used, terribly much there, but it's good to hear your report that it is. And I think we can get that feedback specifically to Katie when we do a meeting with her.
Okay.
That's really important because, obviously, and so would you say that, a lot of the licensed establishments in the town are using discs, actively?
It's been a big push, and they've only just started it now. Now there's the proper actual group on disc. they can instant message each other if there's an issue. They, you know, the pub watch fan letters and photos and incident reports are on there.
Yeah.
They are logging their incidents on there now.
Good.
So, yeah, I don't know how much
Great.
time we've got left of using this.
We'll ask Katie that, we'll put that on the agenda,
Yeah,
because there was a 3-year funding, I know, which was probably about 2 years ago,
okay.
but great report, thank you.
Thank you. Sunnyside Farm, I could put in some data there on usage. We've still got some capacity, but as you can see, we've got a range of different hirers in there, and some regular hirers and some new hirers, so I think it's going well. Farmers Market, just a little update. They were freezing cold this morning. They're there, they're hardcore.
Indeed.
And then our community and tourism update, the recruitment for Roger's role is taking place and interviews are next week. I think that's all of my updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice.
Thank you so much. Item 8. Dementia Action Alliance. Oh, that's back to you.
That's back to me, yes, that is back to me. So we've got permission from Sackville College to put up the crochet forget-me-nots on the Sackville lawn again, which will look lovely for Dementia Awareness Week, which is the 19th to 25th of May. I'm just waiting to hear back from Being Neighbourly and Age UK on what they're planning on doing for dementia. The library might be doing something as well. And then the community and tourism team will be signposting anything that is happening in town and just general resources and support that is available.
And presumably you'll provide us with a little wrap of all those, when those decisions are made and signed off and things. Letting us know what will be happening.
Yeah.
Councillor Thurston.
Thank you. I've been a trustee of Age UK for 12 years, when it used to be in Queen's Road and now it's in Glenview. And the whole, what we do there has completely changed from when it was just, well, it was really COVID that changed everything really for our centre. And now we, from doing 1 day a week dementia care, we actually now do 5 days a week. It's enormous how it has grown. The fact is that people, carers are able to drop their loved ones in there for the day. We have activities, we have a hot lunch, and I've spoken to many of the dementia and they love it, as well as the carers, because they're with like-minded people. They're able to talk and people understand, and it's great. I just wanted to let you all know how it is expanded from that 1 day now to 5 days, and it's fantastic. So the whole emphasis on Age UK has almost become the increasing dementia care, because older people are somewhat younger in some ways. So if they're fit, they're able to go to classes, the Cane Centre and everything else. But those that need the help, the centre is there, and it's lovely to see it being used to help so many people. And I'm sure there are a lot of other people out there, residents, who actually don't even know that that care is available. So we're trying to get that message through doctors' surgeries.
And Age UK are coming to the library once a month as well, to try and speak to everyone who comes to the library, spread the awareness, and we're trying to help as well with that.
And I think John is on the committee, isn't he, with you? Anyway, I just thought it was
No,
useful.
thank you. That's very
That's
very
and I would say, Margaret, Alice and I went to an open day and saw the dementia. I'm going to call it a table, but it was so much more than a table being demonstrated. So yeah, I mean, that was amazing, and I believe the only one in Sussex.
Okay. Thank you. In which case, we will move on to agenda item 9, which is the community highways scheme. So hopefully you've had a read of the details in the scheme. I'll just run through them quickly. We've obviously got the outline in our appendix as well. I think the discussion for today is to mull over the proposals that they put forward. There is a consultation live, and I think we are minded to add some thoughts in due course. My initial thought was it closed yesterday, but I'm reassured by the town clerk that it's tomorrow. So
We've got an extension.
we've got an extension, so that's very helpful. So all thoughts appreciated. Let me just run through very quickly those top line thoughts in our report. Build out to slow traffic approaching the Key School gate area with giveaway priorities, creating a more visible crossing point for pupils, accessing both schools, resiting of the bus stops and seating to the central.
With planning permissions being sought at the start of Blackwell, at the back at the previous, we were really concerned. And we asked, we got a survey down of the traffic. And when I looked at it, they went at 10:30 to 12. And they went from 2 to 3:30, and I thought, and I looked at the results, and they said, no problem at all. The outcome was, there was absolutely no, we were all sort of over exaggerating.
Yeah.
But when you looked at the time that these surveys would do, but that was a straightish road. I mean, I think this one at Escotts is
Right.
much more, because you've got the junction, you've got a very busy road along there.
Yeah.
So it is a major concern.
Yeah.
And I think whatever steps we can do can only help, can't they? And I think some suggestions are no-brainers, really.
Yes, they seem very sensible to me. I mean, already acknowledged, I think that Councillor Helen Byron is very supportive, and has already sent in her thoughts by email. So,
Yeah, Chair, I don't know whether it's Councillor De Bell or Councillor Russell who's our county councillor for this particular patch in the ward. It's close to one of them, but I know.
Right on the edge.
But
Yes.
I'm pretty sure, I haven't spoken to either of them.
I would say-
They would be supportive.
lovely.
But it's important to get their support.
Yeah. In which case, sorry, I can't.
I was just going to say, this is a proposed scheme, it's not the final scheme.
No,
But obviously, it's still probably quite a long way
But
away. Yeah.
as we are a statutory consultation,
Yes.
effectively in planning terms, our voice is important. I think we should have a strong
Mhm.
Yes,
opinion
Mhm.
and voice that opinion.
That's fine. So, sorry.
no, I was going to say, I think the feedback from the committee is very clear. We are broadly supportive of this,
Mhm.
noting that it is a proposal at this stage. I think it is very sensible that we check in with whoever's patch this covers.
Yeah,
It's Scanton, it's in my town ward, so.
It must be because
Yeah.
Sackville School is in Jackie's ward.
Yeah.
County road. so-
Yeah.
But perhaps we could
Yeah.
just double check that, and we could also just
Yeah.
make sure that they
Yeah.
are supportive as well.
Yeah.
And I think we would like to have a draft consultation response that we can review in support. Thank you.
Yeah.
Karen.
Correct.
Lovely. Secondly, to note the proposed community highway scheme to improve the crossing facilities on London Road and widen the footway from Felwood to Brookstone has not been successful. However, West Sussex County Council advised it would be included in a future capital programme for consideration. Just for noting, in which case.
Noted.
Noted, lovely. Final item on the agenda is the business plan. We've all had a good look at it. I think relatively speaking, we're quite an easy one. We've got a scope for us. I don't think it's desperately useful for me to read out all of them, but do let me know if you've got any thoughts or comments on the scope of the Public Services Committee and our work within the new business plan. All noted and I think. Lovely.
Chairman, could I just say, yeah, thank you for the work you, I know you personally have done all that working with the town clerk. But I think it's just worth mentioning that, you know, this committee, the Public Services Committee, I know we're doing business plans for all of the committees and the council as a whole, but you know, this is one of the primary committees for with public interaction. Personally, I've always found it the best committee, you know, to be on, because we have, you know, all stakeholders that come in, not least the experts on in their field of what they do, you know, and we interact very, very closely in it, and historically we've always done that. And you know, with all of the statutory providers, particularly obviously the police and health, and that's what people, you know, our electorate really relate to. So I think it's crucial going forward that we keep that tangibility of review, you know, and incorporate a business plan, but it's a simple focus on due diligence effectively.
Yes,
which is crucial.
And to your point around public participation. We always get good questions.
Absolutely fantastic.
We are one that gets lots of good attendance and lots of good questions. I remember my very first one was when we had modality in.
Yes, indeed.
So lots. Quite exciting. Absolutely. Very good point. Then without further ado, our next meeting is on Tuesday, the 3rd of June.